Hello and welcome back to the Cavalier's Tale. So, no battle report today. We're back to my regular scheduled, or more regular scheduled videos, because I do these far more often than I do battle reports. We're moving from alpha to beta from the Kingdom of Equitaine book, which is very exciting. It means we've had the book for just over a year now, last Christmas when it came out. And we're going to go through the changes and take a look at what's changed and the points and all that kind of jazz. We're going to talk about what I like and don't like and all that kind of thing. And you're going to watch maybe the end video, maybe a little bit at the end. Who knows? So let's take a look through, shall we? Stuff at the top. That's the title of the video. Then the old book is on the left, and the new book is on the right. And you can tell because this one is all splattered with my username for the forum, which is fun. That means that, you know, I think it was for the balance update in December just gone. It's just that I can't share it around or anything. So assuming this doesn't get massively hotfixed, I might use this and print this off and have a personalized KoE book. How cool is that? Anyway, so let's scroll through to our first change and then we can compare the differences. So first one very early on. There's no blue text for the. There isn't. Okay, so the one on the left is going to be covered in blue text, unfortunately, still. So, the first change, and I think this is a huge change for the army. This is, like, massive because of how integral Orisons are to how the army works and how good the army is and everything. In the last update, it got moved from the start of every phase to the start of every turn. That's your turn and opponent's turns. And it made them really difficult to use, or a lot more awkward to use, a lot more, or you know, opened up an awful lot of chances to just waste them. If you put +1 to hit on something and then fail the charge, you've used that Orison. That Orison's gone. If you go for +1 Aegis or the 5+ Aegis, that can also be wasted. So big nerf to them last update, and they've been buffed again, in my opinion, which is nice. I don't think they're anywhere near as powerful as they were, maybe, because they're not quite as flexible still. I mean, you've still got to know where you want to use them and stuff. But this is a really nice change, I think. So, well, I have to think of, yeah. Instead of the start of the player turn, it's in each magic phase immediately after Siphon of the Veil. Blessing tokens can be discarded. For each blessing token discarded, the following effects last until the start of the next magic phase. So if I do that in the start of my magic phase, it'll last for my magic, my shooting, combat, and then your movement, your charge, and then it'll reset in your magic phase, which is really cool. So now, as I was saying with the, if you go for a charge with your guys, make it into combat in the charge phase, and then by the time you've reached magic, you know whether or not you're in combat, so you can actually spend that +1 to hit a lot more sensibly, which is really cool. That's really, really good. Hopefully we'll keep hold of this. This is a nice, easy way of doing things. I don't think there was any need to change any of the Orisons. I know there's lots of complaints about, you know, certainly from more gripey KoE players, I suppose, that the Orison of Discipline is no good, but I think it makes the Sainted upgrade a lot more to the point and sensible. I've used it on units with Banners of Discipline, on units with Daring as well, just to pass terror checks and things like that, or panic if you're sitting on an objective late on in the game. You know, I don't use Peasants very often, but it can be really good on that, especially, you know, passing a terror check on some Yeomen, you can do that very easily. It's just a nice thing to have, especially, like, it's not huge discipline-wise, but it's basically it's fine. Like, I like it. I think it's you're never going to have 3 different kinds of effect that are all used equally. So I think these are fine. We can leave these for a bit and see how we get on with them. So next change, let's scroll through with this one. All of the model rules here have stayed the same: Gallantry, Daring, Knight Banneret, Ordained, Ordo Minister. The next change is Prepared Positions, so let's bring that up. Previously, it was just, you had to have the center within 2 inches of the unit, and then other than that, you could have it, you know, it wasn't dependent on how wide the unit was. You could have it at a different angle, you could have it slightly offset from where you were, so you could protect the unit next to you with your wall, which was just a bit weird. So it's gone back even more like how the slim version of, I think they were bowman stakes. It's just fully within 1 inch of the unit's front facing, and then the width is, this wall is up to 1 inch deep, and its length cannot exceed the width of the unit up to a maximum of 12 inches. So this is fine. I think that stops the, obviously you can still abandon the wall and leave it behind for another unit to use. So for example, if you put some bowman levies down and then raven swing them out the way, put some or something, just move them out the way and leave it behind for some lowborn levies. So you can do that with your scouting models. So you can have it up in the middle of the board, so move up to it and protect it with your levies or men at arms or something. So that's fine. That's sensible. That's all good. Sainted, Courage, Honesty, and Ordeal haven't changed. Lance Formation, Mount Support, Bastard Sword, it's all the same still. The Breath of the Lady. Magic items is where we start to see changes. So we'll run quickly through the points and then we'll talk about the actual changes here. Divine Judgment, Tristan's Resolve, and Mortal Reminder have all gone up 5 points respectively. That's fine. I mean, they're all very popular. They're better than the Arcane Compendium things, so that's to be expected, I guess. It's sad, don't get me wrong, but I think that's fine. I used Uther's Metal in an online tournament that I'm playing in at the moment, the New Year's Revolution, and I found it to be quite lackluster. You get the couple of extra attacks where appropriate, but you still have to roll to hit with them, and with Strength 4 AP1 attacks, because it's generally Strength 4 AP1 attacks, they're not great. Having to roll to hit with a couple of extra attacks isn't as exciting as you might think it would be, and it doesn't sound particularly great even like that. So it's been replaced with once per round of combat unless fighting a duel, so that's all still the same. After 1 or more successful hit rolls made with this weapon against an enemy model, so you can target a character still. It just can't be in a duel, so that's different to how it was. The target's unit suffers 1 hit with area attack 1/5 in the same initiative step as the initial close combat attack. The hits from the area attack have the same strength, armor penetration, and attack attributes as the initial close combat attack, and this is considered a special attack. So instead of gaining extra attacks from extra ranks and files that you're fighting against, it's just straight area attack of 1/5. So first of all, you don't have to be fighting something that's 6 ranks deep to get all of the extra attacks. It's now only 5 ranks, which is, a nice upgrade, even if it is minor. Additionally, you're not having to roll to hit with any of them. If you hit with any of your initial attacks, so if you're an Equitan Lord, you've got 4 attacks, you can roll with that. Even if you're just a Bannerman, if you roll to hit and you hit with your 1 attack, that balloons into an extra 5 hits, assuming you're hitting a unit with that many ranks. That's just, that's way better. If you put enough attacks on the model that's using this, and use an Orison, or you've got rerolls from something, this is much better. The points haven't changed. I think this is, it's nicer, it's simpler. I think it's going to be better. I'll have to have a go with it and see if it's any good still. But I think this is a nice change, and as you can see, this is much longer than the one that we've got now as well. So this hopefully should be, or this is much longer than the one we've got now. So hopefully that'll be better. The next change to rules that we've got, so Banner of Roland, I've used previously. I generally use it on a unit of Penitent Knights, just because it makes them even more resilient to shooting. But I suppose that's kind of playing more Avoidancy, which isn't very KoE. We're very charge dependent, and so it's been the extra ages against range attacks has been removed, which is unfortunate, but we have been given devastating charge ages 4+, which I hadn't actually been thinking about this. I assumed that the only reason this was going to be good is against stand and shoot or dangerous terrain, and of course you can't stand and shoot against this, so I thought, oh well, that's only for dangerous terrain, that must be naff. Obviously that's going to last until the charge phase, isn't it? So you're not using an Orison on that effect, so you can use a +1 to hit once you reach combat to get that, and on top of that, with your banner, you get an Aegis 4+ with your unit. That's really, really good. especially on low resilience models, like if you want to put it on a massive unit of feudals, for example, with some characters in. First of all, you'll give Aegis 4+ to the characters inside that unit, which is really good, considering it's a lot more difficult to get to a 4+ Aegis now. And it's be really, really good on Resplendence as well. Fantastic on low number of hit point units like feudal questing knights. Sorry. Yeah, I really like that change. It's not so good for how I was using it, but I think that what it can be used for now is much, much better. Makes your Orisons last longer as well, because you get an Aegis out of this instead of that, and it's a better effect, so that's really cool. Maybe 4+ was too much to give to this. I like that. I didn't. I don't know why I didn't think about it not lasting until the combat phase. That's really cool. Another points that I missed here. Relic Shroud has gone up 10 points because it's fantastic and way better than paying for the heirloom. So that's going to keep going up in points until we find somewhere sensible for it. That's fine, I guess. I'll still pay 65 points to have an automatic cast instead of rolling dice at the hereditary, so that's fine. Castellan's Crest has gone up again to 40 points. I didn't think this was a fantastic item at 25 points, but everybody else seems to think it is, so trust them, maybe don't trust me. But also 40 points is feeling like an awful lot of points for a one-time use reroll before you know whether or not you need it as well, so is that good? Is that not? I don't know. I would have liked to see this be different personally, but like I say, everybody else seems to think it's good, so it's clearly me who's wrong. Next thing we've got here is Banner of Elan. Oh, that's not. So let's have a look. Where's that? There we go. So Banner of Elan has gone down from 25 points down to 15, which is a shame. I think. What did this start at? I think this started off at about 40 points and just this has not been used at all. I've used it for a few tournaments before I switched over to the Relic Shroud, but it's really difficult to trigger, and if you do manage to trigger it to a point, you're generally quite far away anyway still, and people don't want to charge you, so I don't know. I think, even for 15 points, it's really difficult to trigger, really difficult to get to a point that's going to be useful for it. The couple of times that I have used it and it's kind of, had an effect on the game, I've been, I made 2 6/6 charges, once into a horde of ghouls and another into a massive unit of Shabti. I think the ghouls one, I got flanked and the unit died, and I lost my Wizard Master to that, and the other unit, I think I managed to grind out the Shabti, but certainly I wasn't using it for being countercharged or anything, so I don't know. We'll see if people are using it. I think if this doesn't get used this update, this is definitely going to get changed for beta 2. So we'll have to keep an eye on it and see what happens with that. Armor enchantments, nothing changed rules-wise, but the points. The Prayer Etched has stayed at 90. Percival's Panoply has gone up to 75, which is probably fine still, I guess. It's getting to a point where it's difficult to get a weapon enchantment on things, I guess, but oh well. And then final thing in the special items is the artifacts. So Black Knight's Tabard has had a big change. This is very good because immune multiple wounds is mad, especially in an army with so much healing. Hard target on its cowboys. Being able to hide in units with that, it's just... so it's now the first time the bearer's model suffers an unsaved wound from an attack with multiple wounds X. The model gains immune multiple wounds X until the end of the phase. So basically, the first time you get hit, wounded, and take an unsaved wound from a cannonball, you're immune to multiple wounds for the rest of the phase. So not massive in that situation unless you're playing against 4 ballistas and 2 cannons against dwarves or something, again like Empire with 3 cannons or something. And it's still pretty good against things like the Burning Portent, Onyx Core, whatever the Saurian Ancients one is, all that kind of thing, the Kagadai's Legacy and Ogre Khans. And I think more importantly, because you're only going to be using it a couple of times a game at most, maybe, I think a one-off use for almost half the points is a fair trade-off, especially with considering the magic items and panoplies still going up in points. So this is where you're going to save your points if you're paying for Panoply and, Mortal Reminder, for example. So I think that's fine, that's fair. No change on Sacred Chalice. I think think this is really good. It's just whenever I need to cut points from characters or from my lists, it's generally the first thing to go, just because it feels a little expensive for what it's doing, even if it is really good. It just feels like it's not quite contributing enough. On to characters and stuff. So, first look, let's have a look at the damsels. So, in the previous update, we had a 5+ Aegis base on damsels. It meant that Honesty wasn't doing anything, because Honesty only gives you a 5+ Aegis against magical attacks now. So, in order to make sure that that's not the case, it's gone up to a 6+ Aegis. That's fine. Any damage that your damsel is going to be taking is either snipes or miscasts, really, or maybe in a duel. And if you're in a duel, you're probably just saving the unit from something, so you're taking, you know, from something with a magic weapon or a demon or something, so you get your 5+ Aegis anyway. If you're taking miscasts, that's magical attacks, you get your 5+ Aegis anyway. And if you're taking snipes, those are also magical attacks, so you're getting your 5+ Aegis anyway. So this is fine. You know, a free Aegis on your wizard master, on your wizard caster is fine. You know, a free one is fantastic, and any other army would be very pleased to have that, especially when it's combined with stand behind and everything. So that's fine. Points wise, the Heraldic Steed has gone up 5 points because it's a much better flying mount than the Pegasus Charger, because it's easy to hide and you can sit in units with it. The Fey Steed has gone down 5 points, which I was surprised with, because I've started to see lots of damsels running around on Fey Steeds, but maybe that's because of the Fey Steed change. We'll have a look at that in a moment. Revered Unicorn and Destriers are at the same points, and so is Pegasus Chargers, so nothing changed there. Some relatively substantial changes for the Equitan Lord, up 5 points on his base cost. Sainted has gone up 5 points as well, which I was quite surprised with, because it feels quite expensive. I'd expect that to have gone down maybe 5 or 10 points, but maybe that's because Orisons have gotten better and the rest of the army's been buffed. I don't know. All the weapons are still the same price. I think it's unfortunate that great weapons are still an extraordinarily expensive 40 points. But there you go. I guess a caveat with this update is that you know, we only got Alpha 4 just before Christmas, or maybe just after, so we haven't had very long before we've turned around to a new update. So I think things that maybe you'd expect to change that haven't are a result of that more than anything else. So potentially that's one of those things, I don't know. Because we've lost Blessed Inscriptions, it's changed to Eldritch Inscriptions since last time, so. Mounts wise, the Unicorn's still going down in points because +1 armor isn't great on a Equitan Lord. The Pegasus Charger has gone down 5 points, I guess because Pegasus Knights aren't great for a bunker anymore. The Fey Steed has gone down 5 points, which is a surprise until you look at the Fey Steed changes, and the Hippogriff has gone up 5 points. So if you're playing a Sainted Lord on a Hippogriff, it's gone up 15 points, I guess. It's gone up 5 if you're on a Fey Steed. Yeah, negligible points changes there. The Principles, only 2 changes here. Valor has gone up another 10 points because multiple wounds is just fantastic any day of the week. Faith has got a massive buff because Orisons are different, so you can now charge into combat. You're now engaged in combat, so now Faith will trigger from the first round of combat when you charge something, which is excellent. That's very, very good. In addition to that, it's gone down 5 points, which I was surprised by. I wouldn't expect it to go down 5 points for being buffed like that. Though you have lost Divine Attacks in favour of Foreordained. So, you know, you get an extra Orison token, you lose your Divine Attacks. I'd say that's a fair trade-off, especially considering how much better Orisons are, so that's fine, or a buff, in my opinion. So that's fine, we can move on from that. Generosity hasn't changed, I guess, because they want decent data before we move on from that. I think everyone jumped and got excited about it, but having used it, I think attached is a massive drawback, so I think we'll hang on to this, and this will stay as it is, which is good, because I think that's cool. Paladin, so no one's played Paladin, and I think the team knew that no one was going to play Paladin, so we've got some pretty big changes to that. Let's go and take a look at what's going on for that. So first of all, I mean, it's gone up 5 points, but that's fine. We'll have a look at that. It's lost not a leader, sort of. So no longer is it automatically only a fighty character. You can also have it as your general, but you have to pay for Sainted on it. It's 140 points for Sainted, which is really expensive. but your Honesty essentially triggers twice. You get Honesty that gives you a 5+ Aegis, and then an additional one from the model special rules that gives you an additional +1 Aegis against magical attacks to a max of 4+. So 6+ base, and if the attack is magical attacks, it's a 4+, which is really, really good, because that doesn't come out of your magical equipment items, which is really cool. And of course, you know, if you're taking the Sainted, that means you're the General, so you can take a Sainted Paladin for your General, then, you know, a Lord for your BSB, and then Damsel. And in the old book, of course, if you were doing that, you'd have to either make the Damsel your General, or go without a BSB, or take a 4th character, which is really awkward, and there's only so many points in characters, so that's really good. Very excited for that. I mean, I think that alone means we're going to be seeing more Paladins, which is really cool. We've lost Righteous Smite, which is fine. I think it was kind of awkward to use, especially considering the weird interaction between lethal strike and flaming attacks and fortitude save, so a flat divine attacks is really good. Matches nicely with the theme for Paladin, which is cool. Points on the mounts have gone up and down a little bit. We've lost 10 points on the Face Deed, which is fine. Hippogriff has gone up 10 points, which is probably fine considering how good a Sainted guy is going to be on a Hippogriff. That's fine. Folk Heroes. So they've gone up significantly in points. 100 points for the base Folk Hero now. Sainted has gone up 10 points, which is fine because Sainted Folk Heroes in the last update were easily the best version of Sainted. The mounts have changed a little bit. I think the Face Steed has gone up 5. The Heraldic Steed has... Oh no, sorry, the Pegasus Charger has gone down 5. No, 10, sorry. Wow. I guess that's reasonable. Again, that's going to be a change to the Pegasus Knights. That's what's causing that. Weapons have changed a little bit. It's only the Great Weapon that you're paying 10 points for now. The Bastard Sword and the Lance has gone down 5 because, again, at Agility 4, I think the Great Weapon is easily the best choice here. I'm almost surprised that didn't go up in points. In terms of heroic traits, the Quinn has gone down 5 points. Castellan and Minstrel's changed a little bit. And Cleric has gone down significantly, down 20 points, because Ordo Minister isn't nearly as good as it used to be. So Destrier, Heraldic Steeds, Revered Unicorns are all the same. Pegasus Charger and Hippogriff are the same. The only change we've got is the Face Deed. So in Alpha 4, with the removal of Face Spirit, you could suddenly join units. That has been removed by giving the model Supernal. So through that, it's got exclusive Supernal, which means that it can't join regular units, but there are a couple of units in the Fae section that do have Supernal, so you can now join Fae Steeds to Ladies Courtiers and Fae Knights, which is interesting, and I think potentially could throw up some interesting combos. Whether or not it'll be particularly good, because you won't have Swift Reform, and you do have to like wheel and stuff at that point, and you can't get 3 guys, so you can't get a full rank. Whether or not it'll be any good, we'll have to see, but I think it's certainly interesting. Two other big changes. It's lost its flat +1 Aegis, which is a shame, but you still get a 4+ in combat, and that's flat as well, so if you can get to Sainted, you get a 4+ in combat, you don't have to combo that with other things. And the other thing is, it's lost its breath attack, which is a shame for elf matchups, I think. Perfectly reasonable, considering how massively good it was. Strength 4 breath weapons are no joke. They're really, really good. But you have gained an extra attack for it, which is negligible, I think. Definitely a nerf for the Face Deed, but I think it was probably warranted unless we wanted to pay Hippogriff points for it, so I think that's fine. I think that's perfectly reasonable. I'll be sad about not having the breath attack, but, you know, oh well. Nothing particularly big in core. Feudal Knights have still gone up because they're massively popular. They're easily the best core choice for KoE, so they've gone up in points. Ordo Sergeants, so you might notice here, 21 points was Alpha 4. It's 30 points per extra model on this document. I think this is a mistake. I haven't had this confirmed at all because I've not been able to ask anyone, but I think the idea is that the Great Weapon choice has gone up a point and Light Lance and Shield has gone down a point. Or, you know, stayed the same and then Lance and Shield has gone down a point. I don't think there's any way that these have gone up 9 points a model. We'll have to wait and see for a hotfix, I guess, or whether or not it's different on release day, but for now, You won't see any extra order sergeants if they stay at 30 points, but again, I'm fairly certain this is a mistake. Nothing different for archers. Lowborn levies have changed. It's like down 10 points for the base unit, and shields have gone down a point per model, which is meh. I don't play levies. Nothing different for lowborn archers, although they are slightly cheaper for extra models, and crossbows have gone up a point, so down a point for longbows, I guess. Special. Men-at-Arms have gone down considerably, actually. 5 points for the base unit, 2 points extra for additional models, and Knights Forlorn and Ordo Wardens have gone down a point per model as well. So for a full unit of 30 for Knights Forlorn, for example, you've dropped 30, 60, 65 points for a full unit of 30 Knights Forlorn, which is very considerable, especially considering how much better the reliquary is in this update. So I think we're about to see an awful lot more men-at-arms, potentially. Certainly if you want to save some points doing that, I think that's really cool. Of course, the reliquary, so same deal as the damsel. Lost 1 point of Aegis, but it's fine. We've gained an extra hit point for it. I think this is down in one place and up in another, and I think that's a fairly flat exchange. Certainly it's better with the change to Orisons, as I say. Knights Resplendent, up 10 points for the base unit, up 1 point for extra models. Knights Penitent are a big change. Before we get too excited, this is supposed to be 6 models, so the units are now 4 to 6 models for a full unit. So whether or not this is going to be good, I'm not sure, because I'm not sure it has enough hit points in the unit to do what it's supposed to be doing at the moment. But certainly I'm very pleased to see that it's back up to armor 2+. I think it was weird having such heavy cavalry on a 3+ armor. We've dropped Unstable, switched it out for Vower of Redemption, which is stubborn with extra steps, basically. If you are at least as wide as you are long, then you get stubborn. Additionally, you can join folk heroes with Cleric to the unit, which is cool, so you can put a Sainted Cleric Castellan in there for a slightly killy character, or you could put a BSB in there, or just a Cleric, maybe with Minstrel and the Book of Arcane Mastery. So I think certainly this unit's more flexible than it was before. It's considerably cheaper because you can't get to 9 models anymore. It's also swapped out Courage for Honesty, so you're going to be hitting that 5+ Aegis an awful lot more often than you were, especially against magic missiles, which is good. I think these will do well in Druidism lists potentially. And you're not going to be losing models when you lose combat anymore, but the output of the unit is massively reduced, and I think potentially the staying power has as well. So yeah, not sure. I like the changes. I like this. This is much nicer than this, but I think reducing it to 6 models might just kill this unit as like a mainline unit, which is a shame. But we will have to see. Knights of the Quest haven't been touched. Hedge Knights have had a big change because, of course, this is ridiculously overpowered and it cannot be in the game. So they've lost an attack per guy, but with paired weapons hanging onto that, you can still get your 12 attacks. They've lost Hatred, so no reroll on the charge, but you do go up to Agility 3 base, plus the 2 for Devastating Charge, plus Charging Momentum. You are Agility 6 on the charge, which means against Agility 3 Spears, you're attacking first. Against Agility 5 Elves, you're attacking first. I think, really, this is sort of a sideways update. It just means, they're nowhere near as overpowered as they were before, and I think they're still really, really good. They just have a much narrower set of targets that they want to go for, which I think is what the KoE book should be about anyway. So, really, they've gotten much better against the infantry that they want to be killing. That's the massive problem that I've had with them. I've used them at the Masters. They were really good, but the low agility is just pants. It's just so terrible. If you're playing against anything that has relatively similar or decent agility, you're not going to hit at all, and you're just chaff. You're just chaff that can't flee, so that's really, really good. Points have changed accordingly. Additionally, it's no longer 2 units per army, it's 18 models, so you can have 3 lots of 6, which is really cool. If you want to go for 3 lots of 6, plus some Sky Heralds, plus some Pegasus Knights, plus a couple of Hippogriffs, you can go for a really, really cool like light troops, heavy army, which was really nice, and it gives you a higher agility. I really like this change. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we can stick on one for a little bit longer and see how we get on with this. But this is a good change. This old one was ridiculous. Next up, nothing for the Yeoman Outriders. They've gone up a little bit in points. Hooded Men crossbows were suddenly very popular, so it's 0 to 1 unit per army at 5 points a model. So very expensive to take crossbows, but you can only do it with 1 unit now. The wall has gone up 5 points. Siege weapons have gotten considerably cheaper because they got nerfed last second before the last update came out, so it's only 110 for a siege weapon with Scorpion now. Trebuchets have gone down 5 points. Hedge Knights, no changes here. We're going to see how these guys get on. They've gone down 5 points for extra models, but you can only pay for 2 extra models. So the unit, if you've taken a unit of 5, has gone down 10 points, which is nothing. So I don't think anyone's going to be taking Pegasus Knights still, because this is bad. Very simply. To go with that, Sky Heralds have not only gone up in points, but they've lost a point in armor. So they're only armor 4+ at the moment. And that's if you're taking your light lances. If you go paired weapons, that's a 5+. Yeah. I think we'll see fewer Sky Heralds as well, which is a shame, but I can see why it's happening. You don't want particularly tanky flying units, but don't know. We'll have to see. I don't think this will last longer than an update, maybe. In Fae, so Naiads swapped out Healing Waters for Fountain of Youth because Healing Waters isn't great in an army that has Aegis saves. A little bit healing from a Wizard Conclave is cool. They've gone up a little bit in points for the base unit. Champion is as the same. Friar's Lanterns have gone down in points again. They've also gained 2 points of March, which is nice. Will we see them still? Don't know. I think really they need to be changed so that you can use them as chaff. I don't think that's necessary, but I think that's what you want if you want people to start taking them, so yeah. No change for the Ladies Courtier, but it has gone up 15 points, so it's 440 for the combat version, 465 for the wizard version, which I think is closer to its points that's sensible, really. It's nice seeing it without all the extra cut-off blue tack. You remember that this is Supernal, and Fae Steeds are Supernal now, so you can join a Fae Steed character to this unit now, which is interesting. Again, don't know if it's good, but it is interesting. And then the Fae Knight, the only really big change here is it's got the same changes as the Fae Steed has got. So an extra attack that uses its breath weapon and 4+ Aegis against melee attacks for all of its units. Rather than just the Champion of the Green Knight, which is cool. And it's also gone down 10 points to match what's happened to the Fae Steed, I guess. Yeah, I think that's all good. That's everything. So, and just so that you can refer to it, well, I suppose, there's the changelog there, and the price changes, and more price changes. All done. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you like best about this update, and we'll see you in the next update video. Thanks for watching.